Well, folks, you asked for it. We're back. Dave Scott, Hub Media, Norfolk DNA, and I'm with Counselor Adam Veri. We need to do some follow-up questions, young man.
Okay, old man.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
am. My
I'm
looks
getting there.
deceive.
I'm right behind you.
You should shave off that beard. Go clean. Go clean for a while. Come on.
Nah,
First
I don't think
question.
so.
What
Yeah,
happened at the meeting that was last week on the 4.5 possibility tax for accommodations? Can you share any of that information with us?
sure. Well, there's three separate. They weren't just meetings. They were actually they weren't really even meetings. They were I guess they would call it
Information?
workshops. Yeah,
Okay.
information. But then they also did some polling and some feedback from people who were there too. Like you could be on your phone and they were collecting data from what people thought of things as they went through. So it was a bit more than just a meeting. My impressions. Um, I would have liked I mean, everybody would have liked for there to be more attendance, which is fine. I mean, people are busy and whatever. But
Wasn't it a Wednesday morning though? Like, why wouldn't you do it a
yeah,
Wednesday night at 7 when they have time to
well,
go?
I'll get to that actually. But because the third one was at night.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah. So the first one was just for accommodations owners or operators. I guess it doesn't have to be an owner; it could be a manager. And it was just about the tax itself. And then there's a second one was about the industrial land and maybe creating a municipal development corporation. And then the third one was all three, and that was open to the general public. So the first one was, in my opinion, probably the best of the three, in terms of engagement and people that had more familiarity with, or the most familiarity with the subject matter, I would say. Um, it was okay. Like I said, I would like there to have been more, but there was some concerns, from some of the people that were there that there wasn't enough of a plan for them to be asked questions on, and fair enough. Except I jumped in kind of after it kept coming up a few times, and I jumped in just to say, because I was only supposed to be there as an observer, and I was trying to just bail staff out. I wasn't trying to affect the conversation, but I said, fair enough that there's not enough of a plan, but then when they come with a plan partially formulated, just as many people or more are upset because you think it's already a done deal and we're not listening to you. So it can't be both. You can't be in at the ground floor and direct the project, but then also be offended that there's no plan. Like it can't be both.
Well,
And so
what was the feel though? Like, what were they saying? Yes, no, maybe. Like, I don't. For the few that you had there, it doesn't sound like it was a
um
big turnout.
no, I would say there might have been a dozen or so.
Okay, okay.
So it's not a huge turn. It wasn't like
No,
it was three people. There was a few. Um, what were they saying? I think it was just high level or broad strokes or whatever. Um, that they more information would be helpful. That more, or maybe a better understanding of what information is available. Let's say, and then there was some interest and some recognition that um, this may not be the thing, but there needs to be something. So that was kind of what came out of it. So um, no decisions were made there. It was really just about feedback, I guess. And so it was okay. Like it was okay. It was not bad. Like I've been to many, many worse ones than that before I was a counselor for sure. But I think that if more people had more understanding of what it was and how it would work, that we maybe could have had more people and a better discussion. That would
okay.
that would be my opinion of it. The second one was okay.
Well, let's finish on that one first, though,
Oh,
because
sorry. Okay, sorry,
my
sorry. Yeah.
impression was, talking to a couple folks that were there, was that they felt that you were leaning towards wanting it, and I went,
I
well, let
was
me ask that
personally,
question. Yeah,
I was personally wanting it.
yeah.
Um, no, that's not true at all. I wouldn't say no because I don't want it or not want it. I have no opinion of it. What I do want. Well, I mean, I have an opinion of it, but I don't want it or not want it. What I do want is for people to understand what it is and make a
Okay,
decision based on understanding what it is and having a full opportunity to talk about it fully, not say no because information wasn't available or they had a bias, let's say, going in, that it was just another tax and blah, blah, like all these other things, not blah, 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 but all these other things. So that's my only thing here, is that when I am pushing and trying to clarify, I'm not pushing for a decision at all. I'm pushing for, are we making a decision based on what's real and not based on our assumptions that maybe aren't. And that's all it is. So
Okay.
if this thing doesn't happen, like it doesn't affect me. I don't have an accommodation. It doesn't affect me.
Okay.
But what does affect me is that in 10 years or 12 years or 15 years or how many ever years, pick a year, we look back and go, oh, they should have done this 15 years ago. Yeah, we tried and people didn't engage, so we let it die. Like, that's
Right.
all it is. I just don't want it to die because we didn't understand it. That's it.
Okay.
That's my only horse in this race.
All right. And
Because
the
I will tell
second
you
meeting?
this. Sorry, I'll tell you this. Like, it's not as even like as if Dover wants it entirely. Like, there are some people in Dover who think it's a great idea. Some people aren't sure, and some people think it's a bad idea. So it's not like I'm even pushing it because my community says they want it or don't want it. It's more of just, I don't want another ship to sail past because we didn't see it, and really give it a chance. So the second meeting was more about the municipal. Sorry, and the other part of it. Sorry. To go back, the other part of it is that I am concerned about council as a whole. I'm not trying to speak for anybody, but I'm trying to look ahead here, especially considering that we could have an entirely new council next term, that we as a community pass on this opportunity, and then we hear later that we need more funding for economic development, and then another council says, well, you had this opportunity, you didn't do anything, so what do you like? I'm not saying that would happen, but that's if people don't want to invest in economic, put it this way, if you don't want to invest in economic development, this gives you a really good excuse not to. I'm not saying it's legitimate. I'm saying you can point to it and say, well, we gave you this opportunity. I'm not putting any more money into it. And that's,
and I think that's the other word that you might want to not use as much, because you keep saying opportunity and people don't see it that way. A lot of people don't see it as an opportunity.
That's all the more reason to use it. It's only, here's the thing.
You're making it sound like they need it now, and they're saying we don't want it.
No. Sorry, that's not my intention. My intention is to have people recognize it as an opportunity. Potential. Well, okay, opportunity and potential are the same thing.
Right. I don't argue that. I'm just saying the wording of it, I don't see it as an opportunity where you might. That's all.
So where I see it as an opportunity is this. I just want to be clear on this. It's not an opportunity, just to be clear, for the municipality to make any money or anything like that. Where the opportunity for businesses is to create an additional pool of money that doesn't go to property tax payers in Norfolk County. That's the opportunity from the business side. So it creates extra resources for business development. And if they want that, it's just an opportunity to do it. It's not the only one.
Okay.
The other opportunity, though, for taxpayers who don't have to do anything, is that other municipal assets that benefit tourism can benefit from this. So that's the other opportunity for taxpayers. I'm not saying that you have to do it. I'm not trying to sell you. But if there are roads, let's say, or sidewalks, or these other things that need repair or need upgrades that benefit tourism, we may be able to take this money and use it for that rather than passing that on to the taxpayer. And so that's what I'm talking about. I just want to make sure it's clear that this isn't about the county being greedy and making more money. It's creating more money to do things in the community that don't have to get passed on to taxpayers. And if businesses don't want it, I'm not going to fight them. I just want to make sure that it's clear that it's not a tax on business.
You're raising awareness.
That's it. And I've said that to some of the business owners in my ward too. I don't care what you do. Just don't say no because you don't understand. And they said, fair enough. So I am working on, with the Board of Trade, having another one in Port Dover that I will, rather than gathering opinions, it will be a matter of, look, here's what it is. And if you don't understand, and if you don't think it's right for you, but you are curious and want to understand it because you want to have a say, or because you don't want a decision to just be made for you, here's this opportunity. And so, like I said, it's just information. I don't have a preference because it doesn't affect me.
All right. What was meeting number 2?
Meeting number 2 was about the Municipal Development Corporation and industrial land. And so, and how does the
So this
county?
corporation doesn't exist yet, correct? Like this is one of the
That is
pieces that
correct.
you're trying to. Okay.
We're kicking the tires on it, just because, again, it's an opportunity or potential, or however you want to call it. And so, what the Municipal Development Corporation can do is several things. So it can just run economic development and tourism itself. So what that does is
Is that
essentially,
at an
once
arm's length of the council then?
that's correct. So it would
So
still,
would you guys still be making the decision?
council, whoever it is, council, whether I'm there or not, council will set the priorities for what economic development and tourism look like, and then this development corporation would meet those through its operations. So it would have its own board, it would have its own staff that would be tasked to do these things that would benefit. And it's not like we're going to tell them advertise here. It would be, here are our goals for economic development and tourism, and then how they meet those goals is managed internally. And that's the same. I see the skepticism, but that's the same as what council does now with staff. We don't tell staff what to do. We set the priorities, and it's up to staff through senior management to deliver on those priorities. So it's a very similar process. Or like any board. It's like any board of directors, like Lighthouse Theater or NACL or whatever. Their board just sets the priorities and staff carries them out. So anyways, so what this corporation could do, it could manage the tourism strategy. It could manage economic development in terms of attraction, retention. It could manage industrial land. It could manage, but it could also manage things like, for example, marinas, or it could manage recreation. Like it can do any of these things. And so why it's beneficial? So why it's not beneficial? The skepticism would be it does remove some of those things from directly from council. Agreed. However, council could take them back if it ever doesn't work. Council essentially would be the only, not council, the county, the municipality, the corporation is the only shareholder in the Municipal Development Corporation. It's not private. It's owned by municipality. So we can change the parameters anytime as a municipality. What that does do, though, is it gives them the opportunity to operate in ways that the municipality is not able to. They are able to go and pursue revenue generating projects. They are able to essentially to make money. They are able to make.
How are they going to make money? How are they not going to affect small business if they're out there making money too? Like again, I think you're just taking it out of private business's pocket eventually.
Well, so no. So by making money, it's the same, similar ideas the way that Venture Norfolk makes money, right? They're there to support small business. They make money off of the loans and the interest.
So why do we need that? We already got Venture Norfolk.
Because this wouldn't be a loaning thing. I was just saying it's a model for another business support thing that makes money. The MDC wouldn't do loans like they do. I'm just using that as an example of a.
So what would they do? I'm not buying any of this, to be honest with you. I think this is kind of a joke.
It's not what they would do, it's what they could do. What they would do is based on it's based on the economic development priorities that council would set. So we don't know what those are yet because we haven't had this conversation. What we're doing in the community is to say, look, is this something that would be beneficial? Do you see the opportunity and we had business owners there, do you see opportunity for this to be good? So it's I don't want to say, I can't say what it would do yet because we're not there. We are doing this at a very entry point stage with the community rather than having the plan that people think is already a done deal. We're doing this another way. So it's a matter of what could it do. So how could it make money? It could manage the marina and make money. It could do economic development activities that make money in terms of its own marketing programs. Its own, like, these are other things that it could do. Not that it would.
I don't want it.
Fair enough. So anyways, I just want to let you know, though, that the money that it makes would just go, again, to further economic development and tourism. It's not the people who are working there take
Show
a
me
share.
one thing in Norfolk County that the municipality runs that makes money. One thing.
Marina.
Okay. The one thing you have, you want to give away to someone else to run.
No. But again, the revenue that's in the municipal development corporation still belongs to the municipality. They just
So
have
how many more staff we hiring?
the county.
Yeah, well, to run this, you said there would be
So no,
staff,
but
there'll be a
and that's
board, there'll be.
yeah. So eventually, over time, if this thing is successful, actually none, because the municipal development corporation has its own staff. That's one of the advantages of this
Who's
thing. Is
paying them?
from the revenue it generates, it
Well,
pays.
there's going to be no revenue at first. Somebody's got to pay them.
No, that's I was about to say that. So what happens is the county invests to start it up. No,
So we're
you're
doing
laughing, but
startups now. Oh,
it's
okay.
no. Listen, it's no different.
Adam, this is just like one of those conversations that it's going to go in a circle constantly
No.
because none of it makes sense to me as far as a business proposal that you guys are trying to set up here. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying I don't buy it. I think you got
And,
to, it's what you said earlier. We got to do our homework.
and fair enough. I don't disagree with that, and that's the process that we're in right now. I think that there's some assumption here that this is already steamrolling ahead and moving forward. It's not. All that council has said right now to economic development is tell us more about this idea. And to be fair, that's what economic development is supposed to do. They're supposed to come up with ideas to increase economic development in
Well,
our
I thought they
county.
should be out there getting corporations to look at our property to come and invest in Norfolk. I thought that was their job.
It is, and that's part of what the industrial land portion of this
Right.
project is saying, can we and should we and how do we create more industrial land that is owned by the municipality? And the challenge there is that any industrial land, where's it going to be? It's going to be on probably agricultural land or some of it anyways. And so these are the challenges that we have, which is why it's important to go through these processes. So I will tell you, people who were at the MDC one were people who already own land that they want to be able to make industrial because they want to develop it industrial. And so and it's farm. So I mean, we have people that want to do that. So this is why we go through this process, is to say, look, are there willing partners? Are there people that if we gave them the ability to use this as industrial land and gave them, or not gave them, but made it possible to get the servicing out there, would they do it, and how? Would they expand their
Okay.
business? Would new business come in? And so these are the kinds of things that if you put it into a third party um, corporation, this is now their sole focus. Whereas, as we've seen in Norfolk County for 25 years or whatever it's been, economic development has really never been, certainly not the sole focus, and has really barely been a focus. So the one of the advantages, I mean, it's a focus in the sense that we give them a budget every year, but it's never been substantial, like enough to really move the needle. I think you would agree with that. So um, what this municipal development corporation may do or could do is say, look, this is all you guys do now on behalf of Norfolk. All you do is economic development, and you are funded by the economic development activities over time, by the economic development activities that you undertake. That's the
Okay.
idea, is eventually move that staffing and that budget item off of the county's books and into an independent, the same way that housing is off of our books and it's into the Norfolk Housing Corp or Haldeman Norfolk Housing Corporation. That's their own business, if you want to call it.
Entity.
It's a not-for-profit business, but it's a business. And so I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, and it's okay that they don't, but a not-for-profit business, a not-for-profit corporation is still a corporation. It still makes money. The difference between
Yeah.
not-for-profit and for-profit, as you know, is that
Hmm.
it's owned by the organization itself, and all the revenue and all the net or all the gross net income that you make is reinvested into the goals of the corporation. So Lighthouse Theater, again, to use as an example, they make money every year. It's a charitable, not-for-profit
Yeah.
organization.
It goes
They
back
make
into the
money.
product.
And what they do is they improve their seating, they
Yeah.
improve their sound, they invest more in shows, they do more outreach, they buy another theater, they operate. That's what you do, is you grow as a not-for-profit to provide that community benefit. And so people think not-for-profits don't make money. Yeah, they do. They have to in order to operate. So that's why organizations fundraise. So even with NACL, for example, NACL gets funding from the province to do what they do. But for anything beyond that bare minimum that the province funds, they have to fundraise for it themselves. So they're a not-for-profit generating income to do the extra projects that they need to do that doesn't get government funding. The hospital does the same thing. The hospital makes money through fundraising, or the foundation makes money through fundraising to advance the hospital. So that's what this municipal development corporation would do, is look for ways to generate revenue to advance the economic development goals of Norfolk County. It's the same idea. Anyways,
Okay. What was the third meeting?
the third meeting was all three of those things: the industrial land, the municipal accommodations tax, and the corporation. All three for the public to come and hear about. And that one was tough. It was a tougher, like less attendance for sure. And I would say the least familiarity with the matter at hand, like the concept. There's a lot of questions. I mean, so they're there to talk about these three. They are, by they I mean the
committee.
Like no, not the committee. The group that was hired to do this work, because we don't have staff in house that could do this. That we had to hire out to do this.
What do you mean you hired it? I don't understand that.
So
who'd you hire? A private group?
Yeah, their name escapes me right this second.
It doesn't matter about the name, but I mean, why would you do? So you hired a private group to do all these things?
Yeah,
taxpayers' money.
Out of the economic development budget. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so the reason that
were they locals?
No, I don't think so. I don't know where they're from. Again, I honestly don't know. Hold on, I can look it up if you want.
It doesn't matter. I'm just curious if they're locals or not. That's all.
No, they're not local. I mean, they're local, regional. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly. The company is called.
Want to know. I don't want to know.
You don't want to know what?
I don't want to know who it is, because I'll go down that road. So anyway,
okay.
let's
we can go down that. Okay. All right. So anyways, we hired. So the reason that they were hired, and people are going to be mad about that. The reason it's hired is because you hire that third party so that staff isn't leading people to the conclusion that people think that it wants to fund.
We have an economic development department. I thought that's what they were supposed to do.
Specialty. There are specialties, man. Right?
Boy.
Okay, so anyways, listen, the reason we don't have these people on staff is because you don't need them all year round. That's why we hire people. Don't understand. We hire consultants. We don't hire specialized staff in any department.
We hired these folks, but we don't have a plan. And they're doing meetings because we have to figure out what the community wants. And we're trying to tell the community these are good things for you. Correct?
No, we're not telling them no. So again, we're not telling them they're good or bad. We're saying these are things that we could do. You tell us if they're good or bad. That's the whole process here. And if they're good,
you don't need somebody outside to tell you that. You can just have a meeting, can't you?
I mean, you can.
Then why waste the money?
Well, for the reasons that you sort of illustrated sooner, is that all I did was speak up at this meeting, and you have people thinking that I want something. So the reason that you don't have council or staff do it is the perception of bias. Whereas this third party comes in with no stake in it, and they have that that dispassionate view or this indifference of it because they're just doing a job. Right, that's the difference. So if we have
just ask boards of trade,
you could.
They're not going to cost you anything. They're going to give you an honest opinion.
The trouble, okay, that is true. The trouble with the board of trade, though, with all three of these things, is that not every business who would be affected by them are members. If every business in Norfolk was a member of a chamber or a board of trade, sure. But we have accommodations in Port Dover, for example, that are not members. And so the Board of Trade then makes that decision. And what if there are accommodation owners on that executive? They can decide to want it or not want it.
Yeah.
And then where are you? So this is the problem, right? Is that there are, whether people are trying to be, and I'm not saying that they're not, but there is an inherent bias there, right? So that's why you hire that third party, because there is no inherent bias. These guys don't care at all. So all they're saying is, here's the information, here's how it works, here's what we've been tasked to do. And so they can do that in a way that isn't council with political agenda, councilors with a political agenda, or staff with a perceived agenda. Like I will tell you, staff does see the upside of this thing because it gives them a boatload more resources to do their work. So do you want them leading the discussion? Of course not. So who is that? Who is the independent third party? The Board of Trade? No. The chambers? No. Who is it? So you have to go out and get that third party that's independent. And yeah, it costs some money because people have an expertise. The same way that we hire lawyers, or the same way that we hire, we have a guy cutting trees because we don't have the equipment cutting trees. So, anyways, that's why that works. So, anyways, so I can't remember how we got onto that, but sorry. So the people that were there to do it at the third one, they're talking about concepts, and they're talking about these very specific things. And I would say that there's a couple people maybe in that audience that had an understanding of it, but there was just a lot of questions about why is my water bill so high, and what about my taxes, and how come the marina fees went up, and how come the whatever the dockage fees are so high, and it's like, okay, well, that's like clearly not related to this at all. And so it's good that they came, and it's nice to have people that are interested.
It kind of tells you where people's priorities are right now too, doesn't it?
It does. And that's it. And so those things are interesting, but they don't help advance the discussion.
Well, yeah. Again, there's a ton of questions. I'd love to go down this road, but again, we're not going to be here all day.
Well, hey, anytime you want to do this, well, we can do it anytime. So
I agree. You're very open, which I appreciate, and I do want to say one thing though. I want to congratulate you guys on a economic development, on a bronze award, I think, for website design. Congratulations! Keep up the good work.
You had questions about that earlier. You don't want to ask them?
I want to move on. I got other items I want to address.
Right.
And I thought you did a good job on social media explaining the fence on the pier situation, that it really has nothing to do with Norfolk County, and it's the what was the board? What is that board? You told me off there, and I forgot.
Yeah, Port Dover Harbor Authority.
Right.
Yep.
I guess on that, a long time growing up in Port Dover, and always being able just to do what I wanted on the pier. I wondered if it was a liability issue. I'm sure that there's concerns that way. I mean, it kind of bothered me being a lifelong resident, seeing that fence, to be honest with you. It was like, come on, dude. And the other part about that was, why not? And I know you can't answer this because it's out of your realm. This is for them. Just put up a sign, enter at your own risk. Like, why isn't that something they could have done, in your opinion?
Well, again, I can't say why, but I will say, just because the county is in the business of putting up signs, when you put up a sign, people just walk through it. When you put up a gate, it's a little harder. So I think that might be why the sign. And I can tell you, looking at the beach, for example, there's signs, don't do these things, and people go ahead and do them anyways, and it leads to all these other issues. So, the signs, you're right, but they don't work for people that don't listen or don't care about them. So, and fair enough. But so I would say that's probably why the sign didn't work, because I think for them, with what I'm reading and what I'm understanding from the little bit of information I have, and for the record, I don't have any more information than anybody else. I have what's in the Maple Leaf, and I have what's been online from them. I think my impression of it is that they're taking it very seriously about the safety concerns, and this is what the measure was. And so, just to clarify again, I don't think that the intention here, well, I shouldn't even say I don't think, clearly the intention here is to not keep people off the pier. It's not altogether. It's not to, I've seen, like, with the petition that's going around, people, the write-up says, oh, it's about control, and it's not about control. It's about the Harbor Authority has certain responsibilities and duties that come with their role. And, safety obviously is one of them. And if people are going to go on the pier in unsafe conditions, the Harbor Authority really, shouldn't be responsible for them. And if they're, and people say, well, they're not responsible. My personal safety is my business. Yeah, you say that, but when you're on a board or a committee who is responsible, your point of view changes, right? And it's again, it comes down to duty and responsibility. And for people who don't have that responsibility, their opinions are fine. They're welcome to it. Of course they are. Anybody can say whatever they want, anytime they want. But it's a matter of, well, it's not you in that position. So, if you were in that position, you might feel a little differently. That's all.
And the other part is I get that. I understand that totally, because safety is important. But at the other side of this, who decides what a bad weather day is and how often is it open and how often is it closed? You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah,
jeepers, that
I
could be a
think
bit of an issue down the road. That's all.
could be. So I think so who decides would be the harbor authority,
Right.
again, because they are responsible for that area. So and I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know if there's like a set like wind speed or stuff like, I don't know,
Yeah.
or a height of wave. Like I don't know. But again, so I think it comes down to when you don't have the responsibility. Maybe people don't realize that when people do have a responsibility, like we're not out there looking to like flex our
Oh, no,
responsibility on
no.
people. And people are like, oh yeah, you are. No, not really. Like, I mean, I can tell you, nobody wants to do things. Most people don't want to do things that people don't like. You know what I mean? Like most people don't want to make people mad or have people mad at them about like things that they would rather not have to do. So, I don't think the harbor authority wants to go out there and close the pier and have everybody angry about it. They're going to do it so that you don't get blown off the pier or washed away by a wave. And it's not that you're going to drown, but like you can fall funny, you could break a leg. I mean, who knows? I'm not even trying to defend it. I'm just saying when the
And
responsibility is yours, your perspective changes. A, you have take obligations a little bit more seriously, and B, you have to weigh that with that constant struggle to not be heavy-handed or whatever with, or not struggle to be heavy-handed, but the perception that you're being heavy-handed.
right.
That's something that there is this perception, and you definitely don't want that. So I think when people make decisions on the harbor authority, and again, I can't speak for them, I don't know, they're not going to do it lightly or because they're trying to ruin
No.
anybody's nice time. They're going to be doing it so that there's not an incident out there that that either injures somebody and they go, my personal responsibility is this and I can do whatever I want. Fair enough. But that doesn't give you the right to put other people at risk either. And I'm talking about, things I've commented on, like, you got to think about the first responders, that point of view too, right?
Yeah. Good
Is
point.
that, if the Coast Guard, partially gives direction. I think my understanding is that the harbor authority gets direction from the ministry, and also the Coast Guard sort of has a say. I don't know what the balance is, but if the Coast Guard is going to be a necessary risk going into the water after somebody, there's that perspective too. Is that, yeah, you can take your own risk into your own hands for sure, but as soon as you put someone else at risk, people that have responsibility for those other people at risk also make decisions that prevent risk to those people, right? So the Coast Guard doesn't need that. That's all I'm getting at.
It's the culture and time we're into. I think
Sure.
I don't see. I'm kind of torn on this because, like I said, if you grew up with something not being there and everybody seemed to be okay all the time, but then again, you look at the changing times and you're like, okay,
Yep.
it's a crossroad for me because you've seen so much change in Dover, and I think
Yes.
that was one of those things where people felt comfort zone, right? Where it's like, we still got our pier, right? And now they may have that feeling like it's being taken away. And I think that's probably the crux of it, to be honest with you. I understand the safety aspect too. That's water safety is critical. It's important, especially when you get those big seas or ice or whatever out there. But I think I don't know. I don't know where the compromise is on this one because it's damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Well, and that's it. And so I guess from a council perspective, all I would say again is nothing about the decision, because again, they don't have to listen to us, A, and B, I feel like it's super unfair. Yeah, see, I get this a bit, and it is getting a little bit more lately, but me as a general philosophy, I'm not going to be criticizing other bodies, other
Right.
governments.
I agree.
Like I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not and I get asked, well, as our counselor, don't you have an opinion on it? I mean, yeah, I do, but I'm not going to sit there and either support or criticize another group, but I will support their right to make those decisions that fall within their governance that they feel are best, because that's the nature of the role and the responsibility. So what I think of it as an individual is irrelevant. All I can say, and if I was just a guy, I might have a louder opinion. But once again, that responsibility of being on council, you can't start chucking darts at people. You can't do it. You should, or you can, but you shouldn't. Listen,
No, you should not.
if all I do as a counselor is criticize other governing bodies for the decision they make, holy, like what am I doing? All I'm doing is deflecting off of the attention off of me, or as far as what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to do that, and that's really not cool, I don't think. So all I was kind of getting at is, I don't believe personally that the Harbor Authority is taking away anything
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
And
It's your opinion. That's your opinion.
yeah,
That's good.
and I'm saying, but I don't believe that's their intention, is what I'm saying. I don't believe it's their intention to
I
take
don't think
away
it was
anything.
their intention either.
That's all I'm saying. So now, having said that, I understand the change, and I understand how people feel about that change. I get it, and I'm not insensitive to that as a resident, and I'm not insensitive to it as a counselor who hears about it. All I can do is remind people that the Harbor Authority isn't some faraway place that's reaching in and affecting your community. It's fishermen that you know that are there, who have a responsibility to the harbor, to the pier, to the wharf. And the primary use of that area is as a commercial port. And so their responsibilities fall under that use as a commercial port. I agree that it's extremely important to residents to go for a walk and to tourists and all those other things. Absolutely. The bottom line is, though, it's still a commercial port that we want and that we support. I'm sure we support it in Dover and in Norfolk. And so they have to operate it that way first. And that's what this comes down to, is that they have that responsibility to maintenance, to all these other things, to safety, to everything that's in their commercial harbor. And that's number one. That's it. That's all I
Yeah,
can say
no,
about
it's
it.
and I just wanted to have the conversation because I
Yeah, for
know
sure.
that what I heard from people and probably what you were hearing was the same thing. And I thought, well, you know, there's two sides to this coin, and we got to look at both of
Yeah.
them. People will make up their own decisions, so they can do
Yeah.
that. That's what we want. We just want to have that conversation so they understand where you stand and I stand. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. And I would say this. I just want to say one more thing on it. Sorry. Is that,
Yep.
you know, fishing and the fishermen have been, no one denies their importance. No one denies their role. No one denies their significance, their heritage. Like, no one would ever question that. I don't think. Very few. I have to think that, man, if you're going to trust somebody, please trust Port Dover's commercial fishermen to do what's right for the harbor. Like, can we agree that we can trust like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that something we can, even if you don't trust the government, can we agree that they're probably not out to get you? Like, come on. That's all.
People will form their own opinions. You and I know
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to talk to you about, and you had mentioned this to me a little bit before, and I didn't really understand it, but you were nice enough to send me the council code
Oh, sure.
of conduct bylaw, which I read. I won't get that time back. A lot of it's just, I got to be honest with you, common sense. I was like, a lot of this stuff, I was like, oh come on,
I know.
And I know
Hey,
I'm being a bit of a dick about it, but
nah.
it's just kind of, there's
No,
some things in here that I found when it got down to talking about integrity commissioner, and I was just,
yep.
it didn't really, I honestly feel like we're getting so bogged down in all this stuff that we're not being able to make decisions anymore. That you were elected to represent Port Dover and Renton, and I trust your opinion. So have at it. Do I have to look at all this and say you have to follow? I get that you need to follow these rules, and I think you're an objective person who understands the balance and all these things. But it just seems like another thing that they've come up with that just, I don't know.
Yeah. So you're right. You're right. A lot of it is common sense. And just for the record, I don't think you're being a dick about this stuff. Even when you disagree with me or push back or anything, I'm never like, well, I shouldn't have said that. But you put the little car horns in there, anyways, don't you? But I never feel that way about you because, I know you're not like that. But even if you were pressing me, I never met you before, and you're pressing me. Again, I sincerely I just think, because people should question us. We are not above it as counselors and as any government. So I feel like when questions are legitimate and fair, even if they're tough, let's go. It's when people start making accusations with their questions and alleging other things. I'm not going to do that. Or if they want to start to try to play these mind games, these word games, I'm not doing that. but your questions are fair. And anyway, so I would say to anybody who watches, like, yeah, push us. You should always question your government. I did it before I was on council. It would be very hypocritical for me to not expect it now. No, that's what I'm saying. I just want to be clear that push me. I don't care. I mean, I care. I want you to. Is what I mean. Anyways, no, so you're right. It is common sense, but in the same token,
some of the counselors we interviewed years ago,
yeah,
would skate around issues that when we asked them questions, and you would be. I enjoyed it because you would have something in the background lurking that you would ask, and they always were dumbfounded or didn't know. And now that you're a counselor, I think that experience, you made sure that you know what was in the background before I could even spew a question at you, because you've already did it. You already know, like you did your homework on a lot of these things that we talk about, which I appreciate. That's all. So,
oh yeah, sure.
your experience is valued.
So now that we're done, pumping each other's tires or whatever, here's the thing. Here it is, a lot of common sense. You're right, but just to tie it to what we just talked about, so is maybe not going on the pier when it's iced over. However, people still do it, and that's the same with the code of conduct. So even though we know how to act and how we should act in whatever, there are obviously, not in our council, I'm not saying that, and like Norfolk's been pretty good. Well, I don't want to talk about anybody but this tournament council, but we've not been at each other's throats or anything like that. We've not, like, there's been some heated debates, but we've never crossed that line where we start making it personal and start doing insults and disparaging each other and undermining each other. Like, we don't do that. But other councils in other areas do, and across the province. And so the integrity commissioner and the code of conduct and all this other stuff isn't there to make it so we can't make decisions. The code of conduct is there to make sure that we counselors treat each other, treat staff and residents with a minimum level of decorum, let's say. Like, it's basically not that you can't have heated debates or get at each other or disagree vehemently or do any of the other things. But what I can't do is go out in the paper next week and say, Counselor whoever is a jackass and should have never done this, and council has lost its mind. I can't do that, because you can't undermine council. You can't do as a council.
But you guys don't do that, but you do it nicely.
That's right, and that's what the
you do it. You go, well, I don't agree with his opinion, and here's my reasoning.
Right, and
so you really are doing it. You're just doing it nicely.
Right. That's right, and so, but the code of conduct allows that. We can disagree, but what we can't do is undermine the process. We can't undermine democracy. We can't undermine anyone else's integrity or intelligence or we can't do that, because it becomes anarchy, right? You can't. What you don't want are members of council making decisions or having debates in the paper or online, and you don't want. I don't want that.
No.
It because it becomes senseless, and it becomes a zero-sum game, right? Who nukes who the worst? You don't want that. What you also don't want are counselors who are abusive to staff. And by abusive, the first thing becomes the obvious ones: verbally abusive, obviously, psychological, any of the common abuses, or not the common abuses, but what you would think. But there's also an abusive staff that comes from trying to leverage your position on council to make them do things, and that's an abusive staff also. And so the code of conduct also has pieces that prevent that, and say, so I can't lift the phone and say, hey, look, you were supposed to fill this pothole, go do it. I can't give them direction. I can't criticize their work to them. I can't even ask them what they're doing, because it creates that dynamic of, am I directing their work? And that's not my role. My role is governance, not operations. So we go through the CAO, who goes through senior staff. And again, as residents, you don't want that. You don't want 9 counselors all calling staff and saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. Again, nothing gets done, creates an unhealthy and unsafe work environment, blah, 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 blah. So that's part of the code of conduct. It also covers how we engage with residents. So, I can have arguments, let's say, with residents, but what I can't do is, again, it can't be abusive. I can't leverage my position to help other residents get jobs or get contract. I can't do any of that stuff. I can't use knowledge that I have from being on council to advantage myself or others. and those types of things. So that's what it covers, is to make sure that we are doing our jobs as counselors.
So if somebody
as intended.
launches, and we talked about this off air, but if somebody launches a complaint against you, it goes to the integrity commissioner, who
That's
is
right.
one person that makes
Yep.
not the decision, but makes the recommendations about
That's right.
maybe what you said. Okay. I'm not sure I agree with that, because I don't know how that third party person could be influenced too. And it's one person. I might want the whole council to make a decision where there's 9 of you, and he might not understand the context of what you said. If you said something, it could have been a joke. It could have been you
Sure.
just saying, "What if we did this?" and it was taken out of context. So I think we're getting into that. We're getting into the weeds on a lot of this stuff where you guys, I get it with your job, and I understand it, but I think there has to be some balance there too. And I'm not sure I'm enthralled with an integrity commissioner, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So again, when I say this, I'm not explaining why it's good, or I'm not explaining why it's bad. I'm just going to explain how it works. Okay. So what it is, the province mandates it to make sure that
2021,
council,
right? It came in. Provincial government said
I believe it.
everybody's going to have. Does every county have that? Obviously, every municipality. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, every municipality. So, and the idea is, again, to have oversight,
which you pay for, correct? The taxpayer in Halton, Norfolk pays for the.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
So just let me
wanted to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just. So the idea here, again, explaining, not defending or condemning, the idea is to have oversight for council conduct, because that's what residents or whoever demands, right? Or even other councillors.
Right.
I have no
that's true.
recourse.
The integrity.
I have no recourse, right? I have no recourse if a councillor, before this was enacted, did try to leverage their position to get their kid a job or whatever, or their spouse. There's no recourse there. So the integrity commissioner provides that recourse. That's the intention. Whether or not it's diverted from that or whatever, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that's the intention, is to make sure that councilors don't do those things. And also, it doesn't apply just to councillors. It applies to all of our boards and committees, volunteer boards and committees. They have to follow it as well. So the idea is, again, that it's even on a committee, you can't leverage your committee role to get an advantage in the community or whatever. You can't do that. You can't be part of municipal government and exploit people who aren't, essentially. Okay? So
the integrity commissioner makes a recommendation on something that's happened. It goes back to council, and you guys make the final decision on that item that's being discussed, correct?
Yeah. So there's a piece there that is missed, though.
Okay.
That you're missing.
Away.
Okay. And the piece is this. So the integrity commissioner gets a complaint from whoever, a resident. It can be another councillor. It can be a member of a committee or board. It matters. But as long as you're a resident or affiliated somehow with Norfolk County, you can make this complaint. And anybody can do it, but it has to be a legitimate thing. So what happens is this. The complaint goes in, and the integrity commissioner first assesses whether or not it's even a legitimate complaint, whether or not they're even going to do an investigation. So that's step one. If it's not a legitimate complaint, and the not legitimate complaint can be any number of things. One, it could be something that has nothing to do with the code of conduct. So that's immediately out. Or it can be something that's so nebulous, so far removed that you had the example earlier. Oh, I saw Adam and Dave having a coffee, and Dave paid for Adam's coffee, and that's undue bias or whatever. That's undue influence. I mean, he's not going to entertain a complaint on you buying me a coffie at the dairy bar. That's not something.
But I did it every day for a year, Adam. I was
sure. Yeah. Hardy hard. No, but that's what I'm saying. If it's such a nothing thing, then he won't investigate it. That's the step one. Is this even legitimate? Okay. So if it's not, then it's just dismissed. Done. Now, to file a complaint, it costs $150. If it's frivolous, that person that files loses that $150. That's the deterrent to make frivolous accusations. Okay. If it's not frivolous, then that $150 goes back to the person that made the complaint. So If the integrity commissioner says, yeah, there's something here and I better take a look.
Hey, was that an economic development idea?
What?
The 150?
No, it's a
Ooh.
no, it's no. Hey, we have lots of fees in the
I'm
county
just
that I'm meant.
teasing. I'm
Yeah,
being
yeah.
a dick.
No,
Sorry.
I understand. Hey, I almost think that there should be a bylaw fee. If you're going to make frivolous bylaw complaints against your neighbor over and over again, you should have to pay $75 every time or whatever. And if it's not a valid complaint, you lose your $75. And watch how quickly we start losing those frivolous bylaw complaints. That aside, so if the integrity commissioner says, yeah, there's something here and I have to investigate, he doesn't just make a decision based on the complaint. He interviews everybody who is involved. So he interviews the person who made the complaint, he interviews the person who the complaint was about, and any witnesses who are identified. So if you, to use your
So he's
example of a
judge
joke.
and jury, isn't he? Really?
Well, no. Well, there is
He
no
is.
jury. He's a judge.
Right. But you
But
almost
this
need, you
But
almost,
hold on,
there's,
but hold
right,
on.
go ahead.
There's precedent for this, right? Because in small claims court, there's no jury. It's no different than that. You put it to one judge, and the judge decides
Well,
based
this
on
is
the
different
evidence.
than small claims. This is affecting a community. This could be
No,
something that blows
what I'm
up.
saying is
Now
that
you've
one
got one
person.
person. I'd rather have in these larger situations. I know that council's going to have the final say, I guess, in most cases, correct?
Well, then
So
that's
he
the jury,
brings all his findings. Right. That's where I'm going. He
right?
brings
Okay,
all his
so
findings to you guys.
no, so here again, we're still on the investigation step. So with the investigation step, he not only talks to everybody involved, he asks for any supporting documentation. So if there's any emails, if there's any recordings, if there was any witnesses, whatever. And then based on the strength of all that information, he says, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what happened. And based on what happened, this is the recommendation for discipline. So he makes those recommendations, and then it goes to council to decide ultimately how the punishment, if you want to call it, not, it's not punishment, reprimand, which I guess is a punishment, but it's called reprimand, how that's meted out. So he's not the judge and jury at all. What he is an investigator who makes a recommendation. He doesn't have any power to punish
So
anyone.
if I'm the person who is on the receiving end of this and I say, I'll do my own investigation and I'll bring it to council, is that something these people can do if there is a problem?
Well, they
Like
can, but
if you were falsely accused of something, I know you're not going to sit around and wait for that. You're going to go find the truth. Is that
right.
a possibility? Like, I mean,
Well,
can council take into consideration somebody else? You're like, well, no, I
absolutely,
didn't do that. That's not
absolutely.
me.
Hey, no,
So
you know what?
that's
Here's the
where I'm
thing.
concerned.
No, absolutely. So here's what it is. Could you do your own investigation? Not really, because that's inherently biased. But you can provide defense, and you can provide defense right to the integrity commissioner, and that's weighed in the decision. So if you don't like the decision, fair enough. You can certainly come to council and have your say when it comes time to talk about it. Because again, keep in mind that integrity commissioner investigations only affect councilors, members of committees, members of boards. Staff has their own code of conduct, right? And that is decided by the CAO or the general manager up to the CAO, whatever. So council doesn't have a say in staff code of conduct. What we're talking about in the integrity commissioner really only applies to members of council, members of committees, and members of boards that are all related to Norfolk County. So economic development committee, whatever, those members can't do it either. We have an accessibility committee, we have a environmental one, we have agriculture, whatever. We have all these different boards and committees, library board. So it's really, the integrity commissioner only applies to people who are doing municipal business on behalf of taxpayers, and that's why they're there, to ensure a level of accountability for taxpayers, so that the people that are doing business as their government is accountable for their actions to someone. And so that's why taxpayers pay, because ultimately, whether you like it or not, it essentially is a service to taxpayers to ensure that counselors are A, following the code of conduct by means of deterrent, and B, if they're not, that there's a level of accountability to the public. So the fees only come in when the service is provided. We don't have to pay to if there's no complaints, there's no cost. If there are complaints, that's where the costs come. They come as a bill, as it's billing for their whatever their billing is for their services. So that's where it is. So again, I'm not defending or criticizing the Integrity Commissioner. I'm trying to make sure that as a person, you understand that this isn't just a guy looking at a situation and going, it looks like this. Like there's reams and reams of what could be reams and reams and reams of interviews, notes, other reports, emails, whatever. That's what it is. Based on that, what's in front of him, just like small claims or whatever. Okay, this is what happened. Here's what I recommend. But ultimately, again, council decides what the punishment is. So it's not the Integrity Commissioner that decides.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And also just to be clear on this too, is that other level of governments have a similar thing in place. It's just that theirs are
federally.
Right, but provincially and federally. Well, I shouldn't speak about federally. I don't know, but for example, provincially, members of the public can't make a complaint. It's only other MPPs that can complain about each other. So they're each other's conduct. So there's a level there where it would be pretty serious because you don't want to start telling on each other. But unless it's very serious, right? But here in the municipality, we can have residents who make complaints and they do happen and we got to deal with them. And so the challenge there is that for council is that when residents make complaints, that billing still is covered by taxpayers, whether they're legitimate or not. And there's no recourse on the residents who make the false accusations. They lose their $150, yeah, but it might cost several $1,000s to deal with that false or frivolous or vexatious or whatever you want to call it complaint. And that sucks because anybody can do anything they want to any member of any committee or board or council for $150, and it costs taxpayers money. So that's a real bummer. Like I wish that there was some recourse where we as a municipality could recover costs on those, but right now that doesn't exist.
Interesting conversation today. We killed an hour pretty quick again. And it doesn't even seem like we got to argue about anything. That's too bad.
We still have time. You could cut this into 2 again.
Yeah, that last one was, yeah.
Hey, people watched it though, man.
Yeah, a lot of people, because I think people want to hear what you're saying, and I'm just gullible enough to believe you, so I think they watch, right?
Well, again, and it's not a.
It's not bad. I'm just being facetious.
No, but
it's fun to have the
conversation. I'm trying to get you to believe me. I just want to make you and others know, because
I've known you long enough to have a conversation with you and say what I think, and I'm comfortable with that, so I'm not too worried about it. And you know what?
I just feel like
having the conversation is the start of anything. If you don't have the conversation, nothing gets accomplished. So
well, and that's the thing that gets me, is at the beginning of any progress is being able to say I don't know. And then that's what makes you want to go find out, right? If you won't admit, if somebody won't, not you, but if a person won't even admit that they don't know something, how do you ever do anything better? And so that's it, right? So I just want people to have the information about how these things work, not so much my opinion on them. And I hope that's all we've done here, is to say this is how it works.
The idea is just to share what our knowledge is on those situations so that people can form their own opinions. That's all. I mean, I think that's the other part that's critical. I mean, they're going to make, you and I both know folks are going to, and are going to make their own opinions, but I did appreciate that you brought up that people wanted to talk about the water bill. Like those things that are grassroots that affect people every day, that we have to, me and you got to jump into those next time we talk, because I think that's kind of where we need to start looking too, is it's those basic costs, and we've got to figure out ways to control them down the road so that folks can afford to live in Norfolk County.
Well, yeah, and just on that note, I will say that all the information about water bills, all the information about taxes, all the information about I guess capital budget is still taxes, but the capital budget, that we discussed that at council a lot. It's all online. I've written articles about it. So I'm not saying that, people should know, but I'm saying people could know. And so
it's out there.
If you have questions about your water bills, if you have questions about how taxes work, how taxation works, how taxes are spent, you can ask and we will tell you. It's not a secret. It's not like like ask your counselor, ask staff. You can email staff direct and ask for information about how it works, and they will give it to you. And people, oh, we can't trust them. Okay, well, at some point you have to find someone you can trust. If you don't trust our assessment of the taxes, ask an accountant that you know. Like ask somebody that knows something. Don't just assume it's corrupt and nefarious. It's in fact, I would say there are so many things in place, restrictions, requirements, policies, laws, whatever, that it would be extremely difficult to do anything nefarious because you will get caught. Like for sure you will. So it's anyways.
It's another show with Adam Veri, counselor, Norfolk
Right.
County, Port Dover Renton area. Ward 6, right? Correct? I think so.
Yeah, and don't forget you know, the other Dog's Nest.
Dog's Nest.
Marburg,
Marburg,
you know.
Marburg's
Yeah, so
important too.
that's right. It is. I'm serious. I get called out there, and I try to figure out their things out there too. So,
well, thanks for taking the time. We're going to do this again soon. I hope folks enjoy it, and if you have any questions, send them to Adam, not to me. I don't know. Take care.
okay.